The only thing that Russia understands is pressure. So supplying Ukraine using United States weapons or anything that we can get, making Ukrainian army as strong as we can. Secondly, pressuring Russia through sanctions. If they don't feel pain, they are not going to stop. Why should they? They are moving slowly for for fourth year in a row, but we are still moving.
Now, there have been plenty of verbal commitments. There's certainly been plenty of handshakes and promises to improve Europe's defences, but words won't repel a Russian invasion, and the sense of urgency is maybe greatest among Russia's Baltic neighbours. Today, Lithuania has revealed plans for a 30-mile deep defensive barrier on the border with Belarus. It will, among other things, include minefields, an anti-tank ditch, and 2 layers of strong points for defending infantry. Joined now, live on the line, by Dovile Sakaliene, the Defence Minister of Lithuania. Welcome to you, Minister. Thanks for rejoining us.
Hello.
Tell me, in your judgment then, good to have you here, will your plans do very much, do you think, to stop a Russian invasion? Because the Russian war machine is obviously formidable.
Well, they are, but let's look at the facts. We are trying to annihilate Ukraine for years now. It's, 3-4 years now, and still they haven't managed to do that. So I think that the myth about the greatness of Russian army is largely not really corresponding to the reality. However, of course, they are a threat, and they are a serious threat, and Russians do not really understand declarations or statements. What they do understand is raw power or very clear force on the ground. So one of the things that we are doing is we are not only fortifying our borders, we are going to buy mines, anti-tank mines, and since Christmas we are planning to buy and produce anti-personnel mines, but we're also sending a very clear strategic message that all 5 countries that have border with Russia and Belarus, that is Finland, Baltic states, and Poland, are going to use every single means possible to ensure that Russian soldiers' boots are not on our ground again. Yeah. We've been occupied twice. Thank you, we remember.
Yes, look, this really does look like a really considerable defensive barrier. I mean, tell me more about it. And is it a token of a sense of anxiety, even maybe a fearfulness in Lithuania, Minister, about the possibility of a Russian military threat?
Well, I think that a certain level of anxiety definitely exists because, first of all, most of us still have very clear memories by our families and, some of us by ourselves, what happened when Russia occupied us the last time. So nobody wants to experience that again. Although the situation is completely different because we are now members of NATO for decades already, and we would be defending ourselves quite differently with a very clear message about striking into enemy's territory. We're too small to allow them to stomp our ground again. So that's why we're not only preparing those plans of Baltic Defense Line and Eastern Shield combined together, including, for example, as you mentioned already, bridge blocking structures, certain installations of engineering measures, restrictions on forest clearing that we are now ensuring through the legislative measures, or certain natural barriers, including tree alleys and etc. But also, as we've talked, mines, all kinds of mines, also additional measures related to our border defense with drones, with a certain detection of drone capabilities. But also we all understand that protection of our border is just one element in the defensive system, which first and foremost is based on us responding very immediately and very harshly to any attempt to violate integrity of our borders.
It is a huge project and presumably a huge cost to go with it. I know Lithuania is now committing to spend 5 to 6% of its national earnings on defence next year, which is in advance of most of the rest of NATO. What about the rest of NATO then? Do they still need to up their game? Last time we spoke, wasn't very long ago, you said NATO had woken up, but you said it also needed to now get dressed and get down to the gym. Have the rest of NATO really got the message?
Well, I think that Hague Summit sent also a clear message that our colleagues in the alliance understand that only really significant increase in defense spending may ensure that we may be able to make deal with deterrence without having to go into active defense. So this 3.5% plus 1.5% formula, I think this is a good way forward, but I'm quite sure that it will have to go faster than it goes now. As we've talked, I think several months ago, I said that we are not going to be the only ones that will have 5% for defense, so that happened. But the speed of acceleration of defense spending is not enough yet. We do not have time until 2030, definitely, and I'm not even talking about 2035. I think that in the next 5 years, we need to reach certain level of defense spending all over our alliance if we want NATO capability targets to be ensured now or as fast as possible, and not, I don't know, for our kids.
Yes. I mean, the Ukraine is obviously a matter very close to the hearts and minds of Lithuanians. And Lithuania, I know, is one of those countries that has committed to give full support to the so-called coalition of the willing to guard a peace in Ukraine as and when that comes about, including ground troops.
Yes.
The logic of this, Minister, must be surely then that members of that coalition may be and must be ready to go to war with Russia in defence of Ukraine.
Well, that's the understanding of the White House, that if we ensure security of Ukraine, then no next war with Russia will happen. I think that is a nice hope. Will it become reality? I think that is another question. In my opinion, if we are to use those reassurance forces, or however we call them, and we are ready to, and as you know, Lithuania was one of the first to state firmly that we will contribute, including forces on the ground. But we do not have two major predispositions. First of all, the fire is ongoing. There is no ceasefire. The killings are not stopped. And until there is no ceasefire, no forces can be deployed within Ukraine. Secondly, we still do not have a clear answer about the role of United States. Yes. I was really glad to hear that everything is on the table. That is a positive movement, but this is not clear enough. This is not specific enough.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you want to hear much more from Donald Trump. Lithuania is a country with a great deal at stake in all of this. I mean, you're facing Belarus, which is a close partner and military ally of Russia. So what do you want to hear from President Trump when it comes to American backup for this force, this reassurance force?
Well, I think that this is a combination of both military engagement and additional engagement politically and economically. I still keep repeating that secondary sanctions by United States would be the fastest and the most efficient way to slow down Russian war machine. And I really wish that would happen. And of course, I wish that would happen tomorrow, but, our wishes rarely come true. Secondly, when we talk about military engagement, then at least this option of, for example, having the coverage in the air defense dimension, that would be something that would be important, covering allied forces from air. That's, as I said, one option. Another option, if it would be on the table, considering having Americans within Ukrainian territory, I think that would have an extremely efficient deterrent effect. But I don't think that's very likely.
No, I mean, no sign of President Trump agreeing to that at all in any degree. And meanwhile...
Well, but he has been changing his narrative quite a lot these past months and even these past days. So, one can hope for the best.
Well, there is always hope, I suppose. Hope springs eternal. But the idea of President Trump committing American troops to the ground in Ukraine, that would be more than just a hope. That would feel like a strategic miracle. And meanwhile, you have Putin, who has gained in recent days, has he not? He's now been given something of a green light to carry on fighting. What is it that is needing to be done to force Putin to the table?
Pressure. The only thing that Russia understands is pressure. So supplying Ukraine using United States weapons or anything that we can get, making Ukrainian army as strong as we can. Secondly, pressuring Russia through sanctions. If they don't feel pain, they are not going to stop. Why should they? They are moving slowly for for fourth year in a row, but they are still moving. And number three, I think also not falling into the trap of false narrative by Russia. I mean, saying that Putin wants peace is a bit paradox, isn't it? I mean, if you want to stop beating your neighbor, you can just, lower your fist, and that's what it takes.
Indeed, it is. President Trump insists that Vladimir Putin wants peace. It is really very difficult to reconcile that with any interpretation of reality. Never the mind for the moment. Let's talk again soon, I hope. Dovile Sakaliene, the Defence Minister of Lithuania. Thank you for joining me. Now.